We are rolling.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. On today's episode, we have the talented comic and writer Nevin Sharma on with us. He's a really cool guy. He's working on some projects with us right now that we're excited to release soon, and we think you guys will enjoy that as well. If you enjoy the episode, be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate your support. Even if you don't enjoy the episode, just go ahead and subscribe and like it. They don't do dislikes anymore anyway. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know I did. We cut this one into two parts. This is part one. Here you go. So what's up, Nevin?
How are you guys?
Good, man.
Doing well, doing well.
I can't believe we haven't had you on the show yet.
I can't either. I was offended, and I was like, how is this going? Do you guys curse on this?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
I just like anyone still asks if you're allowed to curse on podcasts.
Right, yeah.
I do that on every podcast I'm on.
Yeah, and at this point, it's just like, it should be like, that should be the mic check. We were talking about mic checks earlier. The mic check should just be, are you allowed to curse on this?
Right, yeah. But it's good to have you on, dude.
Thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
So I guess, where are you from, man?
Originally from West Virginia area. So it's one of those weird places where it's like right on the border, two states border. So it's Ohio and West Virginia.
Okay.
So kind of born in West Virginia, lived in Ohio, high school in West Virginia, that type of thing. And then was in and out of both areas for the longest time. And then, that's where I'm from, kind of where I grew up. And parents are still there.
That's cool. Now, you were born in the States, right?
Born in the States, yeah. Born in the States. My parents immigrated from India.
What's it like being an Indian family in West Virginia?
It's fine. It's like one of those things where it's like, it's not, I think everyone, I've heard that question a lot, and everyone has this like conception of what it's going to be like. It's like, oh, that must be strange, but it's like, it's not, it was fine.
Right.
It was perfectly fine. And
they're fine with cousins there. So I guess, I mean,
exactly. It was like, it was the run-of-the-mill type of thing that you would get anywhere, but also there was a hospital where I lived, so there was plenty of Indian people there. So it's like one of those things where it's like, it was fine. It was like not,
Was it a smaller town, or was it?
Yeah, so every town in West Virginia is kind of a small town.
True.
There's like two or three that are kind of big, and Wheeling is like fifth or sixth on that list.
Oh, Wheeling, yeah.
Wheeling, West Virginia. So it was... Look, that was the big city to me because I was still further out in the sticks than that. But it was a small town, but it was like it was fine. I enjoyed it. I like the small town aesthetic more than I like a big city.
Yeah.
I like the vibe of it. I like not being crowded all the time.
Right.
And
Cheaper
I like
and laid back.
Cheaper, laid back. You don't, it's like, I feel like I don't have to be doing something all the time.
Right. Yeah.
What brought your parents to there specifically?
So my parents both went to Ohio State for grad school, and my dad got a job with the transportation department in West Virginia, and it was a job. He took it. They went there, and then that was it.
That's cool. It's a beautiful state.
Yeah, it's great, especially like around fall time of year. It's just like it's just super fall. It's like a perfect fall state.
Mm-hmm. Is that a mountainous area where you grew up? Or?
Yeah, it's kind of like foothills ish area, but it's still like, I think technically in the Appalachian mountain area.
Yeah.
So it's like an hour outside of Pittsburgh, and then it's super hilly. Everything was on a hill, but we always called them hills. So whether it's mountainous or not, I don't know, but we always called them hills.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what was family life like growing up for you?
You got siblings?
Yeah, I got a sibling. I got a younger brother who, I don't know. I feel like a lot of comics have this, but he's the funnier one. It's one of those things where I think about it too, because it's obviously I think about comedy a lot, but it's like he's still funnier than I am because he's never thought about comedy. You know what I mean? It's that type of thing where it's like I'm like trying to figure out. I was like, how did that work? Why did that work? What would make this work better? And he's just like, this is funny, and that's it. And and anything he says always makes me laugh super hard. So it was fun growing up with him because it's always just like me trying to analytic wise figure out how to make something funny, and he just like pops something out.
Well, you're a good writer too. So,
Try, we'll try it.
Does your brother have any interest in comedy?
I don't think so.
Okay.
He's a doctor. He's, anytime I try to be like, he is one that I do like. He gives good notes. Like anytime I write something, I do usually send it to him. And if he's not, in surgery, he'll read it and then give me notes and be like, you should add this here, you should add this here, you should add this here. I was thinking this was going to happen. And usually it's like 30 or 40% funnier after he reads it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's not that often you get some jokes punched up by somebody with a PhD.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's like, there's jokes in my act that are like the funnier jokes in my act that he wrote.
That's awesome.
Not even that he wrote, but we were just like, we were in the same space together, and he came up with the idea before anyone else, and I was like, I'm not gonna take that. I'm gonna take that.
He's not a comic. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you can see they're on the operating table and he's in there telling them jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm killing in here.
The one place you don't want to kill it.
Where'd you go to school, Nevin?
I went to school in upstate. I went to Cornell University, and I usually just say upstate New York because I always got the
bragging.
fancy
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
And it's like, no,
That's
That's
awesome,
good. Be
man.
proud of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that.
What did you major in?
Just saying that you went to Cornell.
Yeah,
That's a good.
I was
move.
thinking maybe upstate somewhere, doing that, or Cornell.
Majored in. So I went originally for engineering, didn't like that. Did the pre-med route for a little while, didn't like that, and then by the end of it, I was just like, I need to do a degree in a year and get out of here. And I figured I could do an economics degree in 1 year.
Oh, nice.
And I was just like,
That's
all right,
actually impressive, though.
let's just run that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just an economics degree just so I can get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Right.
It's basically what it was. It was
means
like,
you're
it
pretty
was
smart.
purely just, I just need enough
Now,
credits.
did you like economics?
Uh,
Because we're gonna have some macro and micro conversations if we need to.
I guess I liked understanding it. I liked the framework of it. I liked, that type of thing, but it was just not something that really like grabbed me.
See, I like
Use it,
economics.
really.
I liked mostly the behavioral aspect of it. I like that type of thing a lot more.
I agree.
Than just the
That's probably been the most applicable thing I've gotten from college.
Yeah.
honestly, as far as in what I do.
Yeah, I think there was one of the required classes was like just a straight up game theory class, which was, I think that was probably the more interesting one of just like, oh, you can plot out this type of behavior and incentivize it in a certain way to make it.
It's very funny you say that, but because we were just, I don't know if you remember or not, we were just talking about this, but something very close to that. But there's something called a random number generator, and essentially there's algorithms and with game theory, and you start to look at and tying in AI and all these things about having. So imagine for a second you're Mario and you're jumping, right? And you make this long jump, and there's some level of skill there, right?
Sure.
Right? There is. And
Press A at the right time.
Right, A at the right time. But then even if you press it the exact same way 100 times, you're still going to fail 3 times, right? There's some part of that algorithm or part of that game experience that's a formula that's got a built-in failure rate, right? So no matter how good you are at it, you can theoretically miss it, and you think, oh, it was a split second, right? And so like when you look at when I look at game theory and apply it to, and this is taking economics and adding other things to it, but it becomes really fun. It's like, this is very interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't know that that's how video games work. That there was a built-in failure rate.
Yeah. So it's called usually they use a random number generator, but there's algorithms that essentially predict success, right? And so essentially you can do all these things at the exact time, but there's an algorithm that says if you do all these things, you're going to successfully match this sequence. But part of that algorithm is a failure rate.
Jesus.
Yeah. So imagine a shot.
Are you kidding me?
Imagine a shot that you think, use it with any game, but imagine a shot you're thinking that's a headshot, and for some reason it hits the left shoulder, right? Or any, you're shooting a basketball the perfect time and you missed one. Like you always hit that shot, but you missed one, right? Sometimes it's the math in the game.
It makes sense. It totally makes sense, but it makes me so much madder at the amount of time I spent trying to get past a point.
It's kind of like reality, right?
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
So
it makes complete sense. Like, of course, you absolutely have failure rates in life, no matter how good you are at something. But it's like the video game is supposed to be not that.
Like the escape.
The whole point is that I can't do it in real life, and I want to do it now.
So some of the research I'm getting into now for some businesses Neil and I are looking into is And they like to throw around the term AI, but really what we're talking about is like somewhat predictive technology. So if you sit and play a game, let's say that you're sandbagging, right? That you've beaten this game a dozen times. If you start the game from scratch, the game has no way to know that you've beaten it a dozen times, right? You're playing it like a very low level. Mm-hmm. As far as against the computer, it's operating at a very low level, right? And you can check modes, but what they're coming up with is predictive technology, and it's literally just math. But if they recognize that you sequence and move and perform in a way that shows that you're half familiar with the game gets harder immediately.
Wow.
Oh yeah, so it's like as you're playing,
it adjusts in game as you're playing from the word go. And so some of this technology, like I think that's kind of awesome because some people will just like if you're League of Legends, you just start a brand new account and you go, what's it called, smurfing? You troll people basically.
Sure.
Start a brand new account. It says that you have no experience and you go out and you just murk everybody, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a cool thing. But this all spawns from some version of economics and game theory, and then tying in a whole bunch of math.
Yeah.
And physics.
Yeah. I feel like I'm not a big gamer. Like there's like a couple of games that I like playing just kind of like meditatively, but like I feel like I'd like that in those type of games where it's like I'm just like I played a lot of Tony Hawk when the remake came out, and I'm like, I would like it if this was just like a little bit harder, but I just only want to play this game. Like I don't need you to remake this game. I don't want the next version of this game. I'll pay for the algorithm to make it harder, and then I'll just do that, or give me another level or something like that. But like I don't need the whole new experience every time. I'd rather it just be like, all right, make this a little tougher on me, keep me interested, keep me a little bit going, and then I'll
patch
take it
or an
there.
update or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then so you start thinking about like, and then the other side of this is what choices are people going to make, right? Which ties more into the economic side of it, right? And so it's really, I think it's really becoming interesting when you really look at it. It's just formulas.
Yeah.
So
when I was in 7th grade, I did a science project, or 7th or 8th grade or something like that. I did a science project on artificial intelligence in video games, just because it was like I wanted to figure out a way to play video games for my science project or whatever. So, it was like super simple. It was like a very simple experiment. It was just like I played the same. It was exactly what you're talking about, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I played the same level the exact same way. I'd get to a character and I would only attack with one character, and I would see if the game would learn that I'm only attacking with one character every single time, and it just never happened. I think the results were just like this. It's completely random. They're not doing anything. There's nothing going on there. And to hear that it's gotten to that point, it feels like, it was inevitable, but I was just like too early on the train to even notice it happening, and I was just like, all right, I'm done with it.
Yeah, and I don't know that they've fully implemented it yet. I don't think that's the case. I do think they are starting to, and I do see some of it. But some of the stuff that they're coming out with, like it's definitely got it where the game is picking up on the fact that, because think about it, if there's certain combinations or strokes or movement patterns, or if you respond in a certain period of time, they know that if you're they have enough logged hours of play that they know that if you perform in this manner that you're more experienced. Usually they can, and they have charts. They can say this person's logged. If they perform in this manner, they've logged 1,000+ hours.
Right.
And immediatly the game can start to adapt. Yeah. And I think that makes for a better experience.
I think, of course, it definitely makes for a better experience.
Yep. Yeah. Well, also, if you were playing like a death match with a computer or with bots, and the AI can pick up on your mannerisms, your behaviors, it's going to make it more difficult because it's actually going to be ahead of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, but I mean,
so you'll have to purposely do different things to confuse the AI.
It is also like, are you getting to the level where every game is just going to be like playing computer chess? Like where it's like,
well, eventually every game will beat you.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat the AI.
Like if it's going to be that good every time, it's like, all right,
we're going to rewrite game theory though. What we're going to do is you're going to sandbag on purpose, and you're going to get to the boss level, and you're going to you're performing at a very low standard, right?
Yeah.
On purpose.
Oh, and then you just take off.
And then you just boom. But you got to be careful. You can't show off too much because the game will adjust. So that's that magic spot will be doing better, but not too like just barely beating the game's ass.
I like that. That's
bad behavior.
Like you can beat the game's ass, but you better not embarrass the game. If you start to embarrass the game, they're turning the difficulty level
exactly.
up.
I mean, that's the new game.
Yeah, that's the new game.
Go mediocrity.
Our entire future is just trying to figure out how to trick robots so that we can do what we want to do.
Wouldn't that be fun though?
Not really.
It's already happened.
It's called Terminator.
They've already taken over.
That's good shit. But anyway, segues. Yeah,
So,
but I like math. That's the whole point of that.
I hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, so what got you into comedy?
I don't know. I genuinely do not know.
Was your younger brother being funnier than you is what it was.
There was definitely some of that. There's like some of it was being like, how are you? I want to be able to do what you do.
Yeah.
So I was looking backwards of being like, you're funny, and I want to be able to do how you are funny. But there's also like, I guess I always had like an interest in stand up. Like, I don't understand why like a 7th grader or whatever would be interested in stand up, but like that happened, and I was watching stand up and kind of always wanted to write funny things, and I always had like a joke book. But I don't know where that came from. Like I always was like, I should know jokes. I got to say jokes. I got to tell jokes. But it just never. And then one day it was just like, all right. And it was like, it felt inevitable that I was like, all right, you got to start figuring out some comedy and writing some comedy. And then kind of started that way.
I was talking to Eric about that the other day. I think it's a thing with artists. I think you naturally have this desire to express yourself in different ways. Mm-hmm. And if you have that, I think you just have to do it. Whatever form it is, if it's writing or if it's painting or
that makes sense.
Whatever.
Some sort of expression.
You have to find a way to express those ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it was like probably in like early in my high school years, I was pretty into music and doing music stuff, and then that kind of faded away just when I was like, I don't want to drag equipment around all the time.
Right.
And then it's like it just feels like stand up is like the easiest, simplest. You
can do it naked.
You just go. Yeah, it's all it is. The only hard part is getting there. Other than that,
the only hard part is getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Each and every fucking day.
If you can wake up, you're good to go.
When did you first do stand up?
So the first stand up I did was in like an open mic at college, and it was like my senior year. I went there and I, wrote all my jokes. None of them were funny. And it was a mixed mic, and the person who went up before me played the ukulele for like an hour badly, very badly. It was just like just playing the ukulele, oblivious to anyone else doing anything. I get up, I do my whatever 2 minutes that I had, get nothing, absolutely nothing. And as I'm walking back, the ukulele guy like stops me, grabs my arm, and he goes, "Hey, at least you tried." And I was like, you just did nothing for an hour. And now you're telling me at least I tried?
That's funny.
Well, I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
Was he the host of the mic?
No. But the host of the mic did say...
He was the mayor. That's why he got an hour.
The host of the mic did say comedy stylings before me. He was like, here's the comedy stylings. And I was like, I don't know when that stopped.
Are you not a vaudeville act?
Exactly. But we need to bring back people introducing for their comedy stylings.
Right.
The comedy stylings of Nevin Sharma. That's how I will introduce you from
Please do.
now on forever.
That's how I'm gonna write it into my contract.
And if you go anywhere else, that's the wrong place. That's funny.
When I met you, you had just were you in LA before you came to Greensboro?
Yeah. So from college, I moved to LA. I got a job in the Page program at NBC.
Wow.
And it was weird. It was like a weird time. So I was working. Mostly what Pages do in LA is like work the late night shows, and I was there during the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien and late night or the fucking 10 p.m. Jay Leno show. So I was working just like a weird time to be there.
Yeah, it's like an all-time historical weird time in NBC history.
Super. It was like in that was also like fun to watch, and you kind of also watched how like there's no certainty even when there's certainty, because I remember like hearing people on the Tonight Show being like, yeah, now we have finally a chance to have a steady job for 20 years. Right. We're never going to get fired. This is it. We're tenured, baby. We're done. And then like a month later be done with that. And I was like, oh, this could happen anywhere at any time to any job.
Yeah.
And that's when I started being like, oh, you should probably try to figure out something that you would want to do for your own, even like outside the idea of like any sort of employment structure. Right. Something that you can do like writing or whatever it is.
Did you do any stand-up out in LA?
Yeah. So I started stand-up in LA, and I did it like, nightly type of thing where you did the starting out, do 4 or 5 mics, a night or whatever it was. I think the most I ever did was like 3 or 4 in a night, and it ended up being like almost 20, 25 a week, which I know a lot of people do more, but I was working.
I'd say that's probably a lot for most comics.
Yeah, that's a good amount.
Yeah, but like, I think it was definitely good in the beginning just to make sure that you're on stage a lot.
Just working that out and
exactly,
getting the nerves.
Getting a little comfortable, taking the mic out.
Callousing up your skin a little bit.
Exactly, yeah.
You had just mentioned, leaving that type of work to find something that you could do for yourself. What were you going to say, Daniel?
Oh, so what I was going to mention is, I think one of the things people are, when I hear, I can be here for 20, 30, 40 years, and they go, oh, that's a thing of the past. I think that, one, it's a good thing it's a thing of the past, right? Because what that means is there's more opportunity, honestly.
Sure, yeah.
But the other thing is that business doesn't stop. People living life doesn't stop. And if it does, it doesn't matter to any of us anyway. But what happens is things just change, right? Plans change. But the people that make up those organizations go do something, right? Yeah. And so I think if you're with an organization that is resilient, that's going to do something, whether that's sell this widget or that widget, is absolutely irrelevant. The business plan may change, but the people that make it up can kind of move forward regardless of what happens.
Right.
I think the problem is some of these companies get so big at one thing that they are, like they're doing this one thing and they're so invested in just this one thing that when that one thing changes, it rocks everybody's world.
Yeah.
And so, some people say, oh, diversify. And I agree with that to some extent. I think you should diversify as far as risk, but I think if you diversify too much, you're not focused on anything. So there's like this happy balance, but there are industries that are symbiotic that I think that complement each other, and I like to diversify in ways like that. That way, my people can wear multiple hats, because there have been times in the history, and we have a short history as far as our companies, compared to some of these big companies, but we're very versatile. And I guess that's the other thing about, when you step out on your own, really you're a small business, True, right? Yeah. And small businesses are extremely versatile. Right, a big machine, a big business is really hard to make any changes. They move very slowly. So I think that's another good thing too. I was just going to comment on stepping out on your own, starting your own business. I think that's an awesome idea, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think that sentiment you're speaking of, where there's this false sense of security, everybody's got to remember a job is just over broke, and it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, 100%. That was like, I'm glad that happened early, because it's like that happened. I've been laid off for not my fault reasons twice as well. So it's sort of like, oh, okay.
If you had been there for 18 years or something, you probably would have rocked you.
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah.
When it happens, 2-3 years and you're in your 20s, it's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
One good thing about people moving around to different jobs too is that they're learning new skills, new trades.
Yeah.
And you stay more relevant. Because people that stay in the same place for too long, a lot of times they develop bad habits. They become
comfortable.
Well, they don't know anything about other areas in that field.
Yeah. Sometimes we get bored.
Comfortable though.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, I've got a staff member, I'm talking to you, that we're getting ready to change what they're doing. And it's not that, I mean, they've been with me a long time. I think they're just bored. Their performance is not where it should be. Not that they're bad compared to other employees. Their performance is not where it should be based on their own previous history with me. Like, I know that they can do better. They're kind of just floating through. So it's time to shake it up. We're going to give them something else to do.
I've felt that exact same thing in some of mine, where it's like you start off being like, I'm really excited for doing this. I'm ready to do this. I'm going to hit it with everything I've got. And then you do that for a while. And sometimes in cases where it's like not rewarded or recognized or anything like that, you're like, well, then let's just go ahead and pull back to comfortable for a while.
Sure.
Right.
And then once you get to comfortable, you're like, well, let's see if we can pull this back a little bit just to kind of make it nothing for a while. And then you kind of start dipping below what you're even good at.
What's it called? So you eat the first Oreo and it's amazing. Mm-hmm. But when you eat the second Oreo, you get less of the effect.
It's
what's the name of that? And you have to eat more and more Oreos, but you never get the same effect of the first Oreo, right? And it's some type of...
It's decreasing...
the reward system decreases
like
as you grow.
Like a decreasing return or something.
There's a term for this, right?
Term, yeah.
And I think it's important, but basically what it is like what you're talking about. Like sometimes, like you're saying, not properly rewarded or incentivized or motivated, but sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it can be as simple as, let's say that your goal was to make, let's pick a number that I think most people would be happy with. Let's say $2,500 a week, right? Let's say your goal was to make $2,500 a week, and you were all hands on deck, you killed it, and then you got $2,500 a week, and it was awesome.
It's the law of diminishing returns.
Law of diminishing returns. There we go. Yeah. I knew. So I was like, man, I'm blowing it. I'm blowing it. So you hit $2,500 a week, and it's great. But after the 8th or 9th or 10th or 12th time or 50th time, eventually you're like, it's only $2,500 a week, right? Like
Yeah.
you start to
You
become
could be,
accustomed to it,
yeah.
and it doesn't have the same effect, and it doesn't drive you in the same way. Even though when compared to everyone else, you may be light years ahead of them, it still has a diminishing return.
Right.
And so I feel like that kind of sets in too. Like you can be checking all the boxes in your life, but not be getting the return you should be getting, and maybe sometimes it just means you need to do something else.
Yeah.
That's the problem with not improving at anything.
True.
I think it's the problem with a lot of jobs that are just mindless manufacturing type jobs too. Like your repetitious jobs, you're just doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
You're gonna hate that. Everybody's gonna hate that. It'd be good if we had a system where you could move past that. But
It's 1:15, Daniel.
Thank you, sir.
you need to step out for that call.
Yep, I will, and I'll pop back in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Y'all keep going. You can never mind me. Shows up late, gets out early. You know, this is what I do with my wife every night at bed.
While breathing funny.
Wait till I try that new trick tonight. She's gonna be pissed. What are you doing? I'll see you guys in a minute.
All right, man.
Go make some money or
Have
something.
fun.
My apologies, man.
No, you're good. I don't mind.
I'm gonna go look up some material. You know, some jokes.
He's going to call you, brother.
Yeah. What's his name?
Neil.
It's Neil, actually.
Yeah, Neil and Nevin.
Yeah.
I find a lot of.
Eric earlier said he just said Neil and Nevin, and I was like, that sounds weird. I have to think about it as you. It is my brother.
That's funny. How's he spell it?
Neel.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a. I mean, I guess just an Indian spelling. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
It's also like a Indian word. So.
I recently watched a podcast on Lex Friedman's. He's a science guy.
Uh-huh.
He had a guy on there named Neil, but he spelled it Niall.
What?
Yeah, he's Scottish.
I mean, some things are just wrong. Like it's wrong. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah,
It's like if you can do it if you want, but we found more efficient ways to get this out.
right. Yeah, it looks like Nile.
Yeah, exactly.
But
I guess with the accent, maybe it comes out as Neil, right?
yeah, well, that's how they were pronouncing it, was Neil. Maybe he just changed it for the U.S.
So you were in L.A.
Yes.
You were getting up a good amount. What was it? Work that made you move?
Yeah. So I was talking about earlier. I got laid off from a job I had at a studio just because they changed, the CEO, and the CEO got rid of their guys, and I was one of those guys.
What were you doing exactly?
I was working in business affairs. So I was a coordinator in business affairs. So like
okay.
assistant, and then filing and that type of shit. It wasn't like a particularly impressive or interesting job, but it paid. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, so I got laid off from there. I spent like another year in LA, and I was just like, I'm making progress, but I could do this cheaper.
Right.
And my brother was in North Carolina at the time, in Winston, and he had an extra room, and he was just like, just come here. So I just came here, and then really liked it, and never don't have any desire. Like, I mean, you want to go back to do projects or stuff like that, or work on stuff, or because you've been called out, but like I don't have any like particular interest in moving back.
Yeah. Well, taxes are crazy out there too.
Well, sure.
And everything's
not on
digital
me.
now, so-
Like,
Yeah, right.
It wouldn't matter to me. That type of shit matters to other people.
That matters to you, Neil. We can live wherever the fuck we want.
Taxes are the same
Yeah.
everywhere.
Go to Florida. It's no tax. Well, guess what? When you don't make money, it's pretty easy.
Well, once you start, doing well in stand-up and stuff.
Yeah, we'll see.
Is that your
start?
goal?
It hasn't happened yet, Neil.
Or, not sure where you're at.
No, I
in
agree
stand-up.
with you. I agree with you 100%.
What? So were you touring or anything back then, or?
No, it was still like open micing and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then, it just was one of those things where it's like, if I'm open micing, as long as there's some place where I can get up every once in a while, I can just like go. And that was kind of, when I moved, there was like definitely a framework of being like, I'm going to move somewhere that I can live a little easier and just like genuinely work on getting better at writing, like kind of crafting, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
The craft of it, of
Right.
like writing, of getting up, of putting jokes together, of putting ideas together, of getting those ideas across. So when I moved here, it was like a thing. I was just, every day, spend 3-4 hours, usually in a coffee shop that people didn't probably wanted me to leave.
You used to go to the Green Bean across the street from the 80 Box.
No, so this was in Winston. I actually went to Cranky's in Winston.
But I mean, when you started coming to...
Oh, yeah.
When you started coming
box.
to Greensboro, what was, I noticed
the downtown one.
Right away, you were... I remember you talking about that, like sitting down to write, and like none of the savages I was around, were doing 3 hours a day sitting down writing. And your influence when you came around, I remember you were, you were just kind of low key, and I remember you saying, "Yeah, I just want to work on these things I wrote today." You know what I mean? And it was cool for a bunch of the comics to see that you were putting in 3, 4, 5 hours a day because nobody else really was.
Yeah, I mean, it's I always get a little, because when I say 3, 4, 5 hours a day, a lot of it is just fucking staring. Like it's just like
trying to figure.
It's just looking at the page
and
being like, does this the go here? Does this the go there? Or even just like I got nothing. But I do think that there is like, especially I noticed this in the pandemic, like because I would still go to a coffee shop pretty much every day.
I like to write in coffee shops too.
Yeah.
It's nice.
And then when you don't have that specific, what's it called, routine, that it just sort of like, it becomes a lot looser. So it's like, I'll write in the morning or I'll write in the evening or I'll make sure that I write a little bit every day. But like that dedicated 2-3 hours of just staring at something, it's tougher to produce consistently versus
makes
like,
sense.
Yeah.
But also the staring at the paper feels like you're not getting any work done. But that is part of the work.
I think it is too.
Because sitting down to get a thing done, you're going to, it's going to be a matter of time before you get there.
Yeah.
And spending that time staring intentionally is better than, I got to write a joke. And then you're staring because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know what I mean? You're going to stare for 45 minutes one way or the other. You might as well do it intentionally.
It's one of those things is like when you're actually writing and you're and you're flowing, it comes very easy.
Yes.
But it doesn't come easy until you've spent hours. It wasn't easy. You're writing, but you spent hours staring at something, trying to get something generated, that when it does finally generate, it comes quickly and it feels easy. But it wasn't. Yeah. All of that was part of it.
It's cool when you feel your consciousness sort of shift into that different state.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like a pleasurable feeling too, right?
Yeah, it really. I get scared of it sometimes.
It's cool.
Where it's like, this feels too, like it's almost like I'm doing something wrong. Like this feels too good. I got to like take a break. And do that. And I've gotten myself out of it. And I was just like, that's one of those things where it's like, you just gotta sit there and let it go. And it feels very vulnerable when it's happening.
So really, I like it though. Like for me, it's like a happy place.
Yeah. When it happens, it's the best. I mean, I really do enjoy it, but it does feel like I do feel vulnerable when it's happening, and I'm like, no one touch me, no one breathe on me, no one do anything to me. I just let me do this.
I'll sit down at my house at night sometimes and write, and I'll be tired, like I don't feel like writing, but I know I need to write something, so I sit down, I'll start listening to some of my sets, and then I'll start writing and start reading some of my other stuff, and then I'll get into it. And once it starts to flow, I get into that state, and I don't you're not tired anymore either.
No.
Like you just feel great.
No, you just keep going.
It's almost like you're out of body.
Yeah, it really the number of times that I've like gotten something and it feels good, and I've looked up and it's like it's 4 hours from when I last looked at the clock.
It's a time warp.
Just it really does. It feels great, but it's also like to get there, it does take. I think like what Eric was saying is like it does take the fucking staring at the page every day.
Yeah. I can usually, if I sit down and pull out my laptop and just start trying to write, it usually takes me about 20 minutes to start. Really, I'll write a few things and delete them, and then think more, and then sit there, but then finally something will pop in there.
Yeah.
I will never delete things that I write like that. Like, you know what I mean? I think those things and deleting them has value, but I think you keep those, because then when you finally do start writing something good, in juxtaposition.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I hear what you're saying, yeah.
It's the same way as like when I make one thing that works for me is checklists, you know?
Yeah.
And one of my sons is into that too. And then the other day we were getting something done and he erased it off the whiteboard. I said, no.
Keep it up.
You draw a line through
exactly.
it. It shows you that you made some progress.
Yeah.
You were talking about, the ease of writing and, that it's not easy. Our mutual friend Tom Peters, right before he moved to New York, Neil and I and Tom and Ryan Bender sat at a diner until way too late in the morning, just having a conversation. And Tom, I said something to Tom that I had said to him almost every time I had ever seen him, and we'd known each other for like 7 years, you know. And he called me on it, and it was one of those moments when information enters your body, and it just changes some things for you. He said, I said, hey man, I just respect how easy writing comes to you and how good you are at it. And I wish I had that, you know what I mean? I wish it just came to me the way it comes to you, because he's such a good fucking writer. And every time I see him, he's got new stuff. And he said, you know, it bothers me when you say that. It bugs me when you say it. And I said, what do you mean? He said, every time you say it comes to me so easy, you're inferring that I'm not working really hard at it. And then you say that you couldn't do it, and you could do it if you just worked at it. Yeah. I work every day on it, so it's not easy. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. It's just a really good point. Like that suffering through when that's a lot of us don't have what it takes to get through the bad stuff to get to the good. And sitting and staring is not a skill that I'm good at, you know, to sit down and do the bad thing until it gets good. It's like, it's easier for me to just do that on stage. And I always respect people who can sit and have the discipline to write. It's a skill I'm working on now. Yeah.
You ever wonder why that, so why is it hard to sit down? Because I write about every night.
Yeah.
I try to, or every day sometime I'll find a time to sit down and write some. But why is it so difficult to sit down and write when you enjoy it so much? You know what I mean? It's such a strange...
Yeah, I've thought about that. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's like that with a lot of things.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like, why do you have to talk yourself into doing something that you enjoy doing?
It's the criticism.
That is a good... I know, yeah.
It's the criticism that you have for yourself, yeah?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, it's like, oh, nothing, I'm not going to... This isn't going to be good. Why am I wasting my time? Or... Yeah, I don't know, man. It is weird.
It's bizarre.
But it's still hard. That's the thing.
It is hard.
It's just like, it's not like it is fun when it's fun when you've got. I think Eric was to mention this phrase. He's like, I like it when it's in the middle of things. I like to be in the middle of things. That's when it's fun. Yeah, it's fun when you're in the middle of it. But in the beginning and in the end, it sucks. Yeah. It's just like. Maybe the end is a little better because you're like closer.
Accomplishment.
Yeah, it's done. But like
the beginning is the
beginning is the tough part. Yeah, because you're like, I know what I'm going to write today is probably not going to survive. Like it's like most of the time when you're writing, what you're writing is not going to survive. Yeah. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to. All it is I always think it of as like every idea you're ever going to have continuously just kind of like forms in a line in your head. Yeah, and you got to get everyone out. And then some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad. But unless you get everyone before the good one out, you're not going to get to the good one.
And they're all going to change.
They're all going to change. They're all going to do something. Something's going to be different. But, yeah, just sitting down, because it's still hard. Like, it sucks. Yeah. It is just...
It's like working out, guys. Like, it's kind of like going to the gym. Like, you get there, you're like, I don't want to do this. Yeah. I'm tired.
You leave and you're good.
But then you start doing it, and you're like, it feels good. Like, I feel great.
Yeah, it feels good after you leave. But
I think last week when I said that to you, you know, we were filming some sketches and stuff. And I said, I just want to get to the middle. And what I mean is, like, with everything we're doing at the studio, I kind of want to get to the middle. I want to be in it. I want to, and it's not because that's the thing I enjoy more, but it is, like, I just want to know if what I'm doing right now is correct. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I want to be able to judge myself accordingly so that I can adjust the things I'm doing today. And it's that impatience when you're working on stuff. I get impatient with it. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, let's get this. Why isn't this a little further along? I wish everything was further along. It's just like, how isn't this not here? Why? I know it's all in my head. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. It's like, why is it not? Why am I not seeing it?
We're gonna get out of there. Yeah. It's kind of a weird evolutionary thing too, right? It seems counterintuitive. Like we're supposed to be producing things and creating things. That's what we do. But why is there a resistance to it? It's like, wish I could genetically alter my DNA where I looked at work like I look at sex. You know, it's like, I just really want to do this.
Yeah.
Just can't wait to sit down and write something, you know?
I mean, that's one of those tricks when they start. So I started working on like negative self-talk and being a little more positive in my life in general, right? And one of the small changes, which I always saw like on Instagram and shit, you know, when you see the positive people on Instagram, you're like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But then they finally start clicking in, and it is them saying things like that, and it's like, oh, I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do have to trick yourself from I have to go to work to I get to go to work, right? And that's sex.
Sure,
you don't go home thinking I have to have sex today.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I get to have sex today.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, having to I'm trying to catch myself like I got a show tonight. And it really is like I get to do a show tonight. You know what I mean?
One problem I have too is I have so many different things on my plate, so I have so many different things to deal with. It's kind of like when you're looking for something to watch and there's too much content, you can't make a decision. It's kind of like that with me too. I have so many things to do. It's like, which one do I do right now?
Right.
And then I'll sit down and start working on one thing. I'm like, maybe I should be working on this other thing.
You got to making those choices, man. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
my Netflix queue is forever long.
Yeah.
And I never watch anything. I spend more time adding to my queue than
I
I
do
do
too.
watching Netflix.
I kind of don't mind that. I kind of like
Me
that.
neither. That's the
like
game.
late at night when you're just like, all right, let's just see what all is out there. Holy, there's that guy's in that movie. Let's check that out. One day, never.
One
You know what
day.
I mean?
Yeah, it shuts my brain down.
Yeah.
Though. It's like I've got I'm like, fuck this whole thing. I can never watch it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be unhappy because as soon as I start watching one thing,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I want to see this other thing too.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Constant buyer's remorse.
Yes.
It feels like scrolling social media, but like less toxic, where you're just like, oh,
Yes.
It is
I could just
definitely-
keep doing this. I could
That's
just
true,
keep
yeah.
doing this. This is fine. Let's just see what. Wow.
Well, usually what happens.
Hulu really updated their shit. They're getting it together. Look at them. Yeah.
Usually what happens to me is I'll do that, and I'm like, I should be writing. I'll turn it off and I'll start writing.
Yeah, that's what happens.
That's-
Yeah. That's the only thing is that it's active. You can't just like.
Right.
There's got to be someone.
It's almost like you're stalling.
Yeah. Someone create an algorithm to just automatically scroll, and I could write forever. And it's like, let's
Right,
just keep going. Show me everything. Go to the next line.
Maybe cool to create an app where you have to use the app to where you can like watch your streaming services through this specific app, and it won't let you do that, but so long. It's like it makes you watch something.
Oh yeah.
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 They're starting to do that kind of on Netflix, where it's like watch something. It's like a little
Just play anything.
Yeah, play anything.
Yeah.
Hey, dummy.
Yeah.
Just hit play.
You've been doing this. Yeah, hit play. You're not going to consume whatever it is you're fucking shoving down your face right now.
I like how much we're just going back to cable. That's what play anything is what cable was.
Well, a lot of the
That's exactly what that was.
a lot of the
What's
series,
on?
yeah, that's right. A lot of the series now they'll have they're limiting releases of episodes because of that probably.
Yeah. Which I think is that I like the way I mean watching things are better when I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I actually think about it, and I don't think I have a clear opinion. It's I think there's some things where I'm like, you know what? Here's why it came out. Some things I'd like to watch week to week, and some things I'd like to watch all at once.
Yeah.
I did
Right,
it, everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's one reason I don't watch things. Is a lot of series. There's a lot of series in my wish list and or watch list I'd like to watch, and I'm like, man, I really want to watch this. It looks really interesting, and I start to hit play, and I'm like, I can't get into
Yeah,
it
I
because I
just
can't
can't.
stop. Like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be
Yeah.
stuck in this thing.
Well, that's why
that's 10 hours.
Yeah.
I will only watch things that I know have an ending to. So there's plenty of TV shows that are currently going that I would really get into watching, and I just won't.
Yeah.
I just won't watch them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't see the whole thing.
Yeah.
Guess who's back? It's Mr. Business, everybody.
I got one for Nevin too.
Oh hell yeah!
Here you go. Here you go. See?
Oh, thank
even
you.
When I take a break, I go work some more.
Appreciate it.
I took a bunch of calls. I didn't get to do the call I meant to do. Picked up some envelopes for you guys.
Hell yeah!
I didn't have one. What's up with that? Apologies.
Your envelopes are digital, I guess. That's where I am. I still get paper envelopes. You get digital envelopes.
I tell you, man. All types of paper is worthless, except for rolling papers.
Even those, we got pipes for it.
I'm still a little old school, man. I still like to roll every once in a while.
When you read books, do you read physical copies? Or you
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
prefer
Neil
physical,
gets on me all the time about it. I have
Me too.
lately. I've got 3 copies. So here's what I've got now: physical copy, digital copy,
An audiobook?
and audiobook.
Yeah. So you can stay moving, right?
Yeah. So, but what ends up happening is I just end up reading the book multiple times anyway, so it's irrelevant. But
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah. No, I way prefer a physical copy. That's what
Same.
I've had fucking Norm Macdonald's book on my phone since it came out.
It's really
and
good.
not until he passed did I buy a physical copy and actually start reading it.
Gotcha.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
I already spent too much time looking at my phone. First of all,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. I will make the case, though, with that Norm Macdonald book that you should get the audiobook.
I think I bet the audiobook.
He has at some point.
Does he actually do it? Is it his voice?
It's
That's
really,
the exception where I like audio.
So
if it's the author,
Steve Martin reading Born Standing Up. He actually does some of the old bits. It's the book is fantastic, but the audiobook is magic.
Yeah.
And what was the book we were just talking about?
Norm.
So Norm, he does his, and at some point it just switches out. He makes somebody else read it as he's Norm.
That's hilarious.
And the thing he's reading is about the person who's reading it. It's his buddy. He's breaking his buddy's balls. He called him into the studio and made it. It's pretty fantastic.
That's hilarious. So Tony Robbins has a couple that I know that Tony, like, he does like the intro to them where he does like chapter 1 and maybe chapter 10. So this is really funny, but I've bought the audio just to listen to chapter 1 and chapter 2. I've already read the book.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But just to listen to him read chapter 1 and chapter 10 to me, which I think is hilarious. His voice is very soothing to me. So
me too, dude.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is true for both of us. My dad used to listen to him in the car all the
me
time.
too. Yes.
Dad? Yeah.
Yes. That's probably why. Yeah.
Well,
that is it.
Yeah, that's probably why. But yeah. So but now I read all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
I prefer to read digitally.
He does.
Really?
Yeah, I just got used to it, and I like it because I can do it. If I try to read a physical book, I won't read it very often because it's just too much of a hassle to keep it with me. My phone's always with me, so if I want to read something, if I'm reading a book, I can just, if I have 15 minutes, I can just sit down and read.
Right. I do make an exception for like nonfiction books. I'll read that.
I don't read many fiction books.
I can't read fiction.
Really?
Yeah,
no one reads fiction.
I do on occasion.
Yeah. I feel like mostly I prefer I just feel like fiction is more.
What's the last book I read
feel
that was
like
fiction?
I read a lot of science stuff, so to me it's like I don't need the fiction. Like the science is so fascinating and overwhelming. It's that's where all the fiction comes from.
Yeah, I have to say I do like fiction in the way of like good literature, like well written stuff where the language is just like
I could probably get down with that. Let me tell you something. You ready? Really the ear, the eyes, the nose. Ear, the eyes, nose. Eric, can you look that up? The ear, the eyes, the nose. This is the last fiction book I read, I believe. 5th grade. It's probably like an 8th grade.
The ear, the eye, and the arm.
The ear, the eye, the arm. That's it. So that book is the last one that I remember reading, and I really loved it. But I was also in 5th grade. I don't know what reading level it is. It's probably somewhere in that, maybe 5th to 8th grade reading level there. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I don't really remember why, but it was very futuristic. And I don't know, but other than that, I can't tell you the last.
I feel like a lot of people stop reading fiction because they think they like have to finish everything that they read.
I have to.
It's like one of those things where it's like, but some shit sucks.
Oh, I agree.
You don't have to read.
If it sucks, don't read it.
Hold on, when you
Just
watch
stop.
a bad movie, do you stop or do you have to finish it?
How bad?
I watch them. I have to watch even train wrecks, man.
Whole thing,
dude.
Train wrecks. I watch the whole thing, and I'm mad at myself about it.
Dude, I've done that with TV series.
Yeah.
My first wife, I think I told you, I found the show True Blood, and
I got stuck on that one too, man.
Yeah, dude, it's campy early, and then you kind of get into it, and then the last season and a half is just like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And I could not turn.
You can walk away.
I cannot.
Nothing is holding.
I couldn't walk away from that one.
Just be done with it.
No.
It feels so good. You just, I'm done with this. This sucks. I'm over it. I'm out.
You might as well be talking about relationships because it's the same thing. It sucks. I'm staying in it. I need to see how this thing ends.
I have changed.
I agree.
Though. I have changed. I'll walk away from stuff now.
I can't.
Because if I'm watching it and there's a lot of plot holes in it, or it just doesn't make sense, or it's just too far away from rational thought, then I'll just cut it off.
But here's the thing with
or stop reading it. Or
I realize with physical books, even if you read half of it, it still goes on your bookshelf. It still looks like you. Man, still looks like you read it.
Dude, look right there. I got a few hundred fucking books.
He's a well-read man.
We do on this show we do half a book of the month club. I'm gonna put every link for every book we ever mention that we don't fucking read.
Hey, so the Blue Mind, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other night.
You tagged me in that on YouTube. So the author of the Blue Mind, that's the book right there. Yeah. So I'll tell you, and I have a first edition, just so you know. And you're going to say, well, why do you have the book? Well, one, I have the original book that my mother bought me, but I bought another one to give to my oldest son, who just turned 11 yesterday, for him to read.
Oh, that's nice.
Cool,
Because I thought that would kind of be cool. I'd like to tell him, hey, man, this is a book I read in 5th grade. And I set the reading record. And then for that elementary school, my mom was a teacher. And then my younger brother beat me. He passed the record that I had set. Uh-huh. And then that was beaten by our next youngest brother. And then that was beaten by our youngest brother. It was 10 years and 26 days between us and to the youngest. And his record still stands.
All right.
So it's kind of funny. But anyway.
Best readers to ever come out of that elementary school.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
And
he
quit fiction.
Yeah. That's why I quit fiction. Probably.
I read them all.
Yeah, so anyway, I just got burnt out on it, I think, man. It's so much drama and so much stress and so much right. I don't know, man. It just too much emotional swings, I think, for me. And then the fact too, I didn't feel like it was benefiting my life, honestly.
I feel like there are certain things that so last night I was sitting with my son, we were stoned, we're playing fucking Mario Golf, and I put on some music, and then he asked me if I'd heard of this one guy, and I said no, and then he put it on, and it was like, he said, you will like him. And I did indeed recognize everything this guy was talking about, and I felt pretty comfortable. Like I knew that we had similar experiences, but I didn't want to listen to it.
Right.
It's him being, coming from a place of angst and craziness and violence, and it's like, I understand it so much that I don't want to listen to it right now. I have to be mindful of how I spend my time, and that's the same reason I don't watch horror movies and things like that. It's like, I don't want to spend my time being scared. I'm scared all the fucking time.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like I'm always
I get that
fucking
feeling
ready to go.
a lot, especially with like newer, like prestige TV shows where they're like, oh, you got to get this. That really puts you in this like, it really gets like, it's exactly correct. Like they've got the anxiety right. They've got the like scariness right. They've got like the general social unrest right. And it's like, I don't want to. Why would I do that? I'm fine now. It's all day.
Fine now.
Why am I doing that again?
Yeah. Interesting, yeah.
So you tagged me, Eric, in it, and so anyway, I got a request. They followed me.
The Blue Mind. They followed us back on Instagram.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I was like, that's awesome. So, but anyway, I don't know how we got to that, but I switched. I can't handle fiction.
It's like the Uncut Gems. Has anybody seen that movie?
Yeah.
So I went to go watch that movie, and I'm sitting there, and holy shit, did they do a good job with creating anxiety? But I'm just like, that's when I should have left, but it wasn't because I didn't enjoy it. It's because it was fucking working.
Yeah,
It's too intense.
it's good.
No, I
Great job. I don't want to watch this.
I have not watched it on purpose because I got that vibe from it.
Yeah, man. It's really well done, and it does create that sense of desperation and anxiety and just like being in the middle of bad decisions. Oh, boy. You know, I've spent a lot of time there. I don't need to voluntarily pay money to
It's like every tagline is, remember when you felt real bad? We'll do it again.
Yes.
I want to watch that movie, but it's a long movie. That's why I haven't dove into it.
Yeah, I think you would really like it. The way that it's shot is really fucking cool.
I heard it was really good.
Well, Uncut Gems?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Fiction books, I have read, the only recent fiction books I've read, or fairly recent, were the Ernest Cline books, Ready Player One and Armada. Those are both really good.
Yeah.
Really
Those are both science fiction ones, right?
Yeah. I like science fiction stuff.
Yeah.
There's also a science fiction series called something Humans. Hang on. It's a really good series. And a lot of the science fiction in the book is stuff that I believe will probably happen, which I've found really interesting. It's called
Nevin, pull your phone out.
There's a book I want to read called The Simulation Hypothesis. That's a science fiction book.
Okay.
Looks interesting, but it is...
I got lost putting stuff on TV, and when I looked up, I was looking at my iPad, and when I looked up, everybody's on the phones. I was like, what happened? I legit didn't know where I was.
It's a series called The Last Humans.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's like
What's that about?
3-book series. It's just a science fiction series. It takes place way in the future, and people are... it's really everything is made out of nanotechnology, even the humans, or what we've evolved into. We look the same, but we're all nanotechnology. So we or so that they've evolved into this total technology, but they still look biological and they seem biological. But like they eat these bars, these food bars that have all the nutrients and stuff that their body needs, and they taste better than anything you'd ever eat. But they can also eat regular food if they want to, but the food will just appear. So they can think of something, like they can think of their bed when it's time to go to bed. The bed will form from everything around them. So the whole thing is nanotechnology.
Okay.
And they can telepathically communicate, and it's really interesting. But it's I don't want to say too much about the series if you guys ever read it or someone reads it. Spoiler, but they're trapped in this oasis, and there's a dome that protects them. But
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting story.
And I don't want to say any more, but it's much more than that. But it's really interesting. It's really good, a really good book. Or good books. It's a good series.
I like a good series.
But they take, they're pretty decent sized books, so it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And when I read stuff like that, I'm like, I could be reading something that's actually real and real science, or it's based on current events, or things that are more beneficial to my life.
Yeah.
So, but it is fun to read those things occasionally.
Yeah. I mean, it's.
Do you read fiction as an escape, or what is it that draws you to it?
It's not really. It's not. It's. Here's the thing. I was thinking as we were talking about this. I was like, oh, what books would I even recommend? And I was like, I don't really remember a lot of the books I read. It's mostly just like it's like an exercise of like, I know when I'm doing this, I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah,
like,
it's also good to read good literature.
Yeah,
good writing,
just to kind of to help with the writing, to see how someone did something, and it's just like one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, like I'll read like what, and there's like enough good books that have been written up until this point that like you don't have to read shitty books.
Right? Yeah.
There's not like there's plenty of options.
Yeah,
so it's like it's like you're not just picking up something random and being like, am I absorbing something good? You can read only great books probably for your entire life. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's mostly just a thing where it's like, I'm also not looking at a screen. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
See, that's why I can't read digitally.
Yeah.
Is because if I'm holding that, something else will pique my interest.
Yeah.
I'll be reading the book on my phone or whatever it is, and they'll say something, and it'll make me think of a thing, then I want to look that up, and then I'm lost. I won't get back to that book for a month and a half.
Yeah.
You need to get one of those Kindles.
I have one. It doesn't work. Same thing. It's if I'm holding it digitally, it'll pose a question in my head or give me a thought, and then I'll worry that I'm going to forget that thought, so I got to look it up and keep that tab open. If you go to my tabs on my phone, I think it's ridiculous. And that's all come from other things reminding me of stuff.
Another reason I like to read digitally, though, personally, is especially if I'm reading nonfiction stuff, is if I see something interesting, I can highlight it and make a note of it. Or I can, if I find a word I'm not familiar with, I can look it up.
See, I don't have the discipline to highlight it. I just chase that down the rabbit hole.
Did they stop making highlighters, Neil?
It's much easier when you do it in an app. You just go straight to it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. The looking up thing is pretty huge. I like, because I definitely would just like zoom past words I didn't understand. Be like, hope I understand this, but it's,
you get the gist of
in
it,
context,
but to actually really understand it.
It's funny. I think we did it a few times the other night when we were talking and with my son. It's every time we come to a word that I think we both only recognize through context. It's like, let's look this up before we have an argument. The other day on the Tom Simmons show, plug, we were recording, and we asked a question. We were talking about peace. Can you ever, do you think there'll ever be peace? And I said, well, there's so many different definitions of the word and applications for the words, like personal peace, world peace, what peace, And looking up the definition for it kept our conversation on track, because I could have said, no, it's never possible, and been talking about something completely different.
Yeah. I think that is what the world needs, is for people to be more self-centered. I think that's what we're missing. I know, to be honest.
Right? I'm going for more centered, not self-centered.